Hi everyone, this is Chelsea. Today I have a fun video for you. I have 10 years of completed December daily projects and I want to share little snippets of all of them with you. We're not going to be able to go through all of them because it's a lot, but I want to share what I have learned, what I have changed over the years, and kind of the pluses and minuses of different ways of doing it. And then I'm going to tell you how that is helping me decide what I'm going to do this year for December Daily. Now let's jump in and get started. I'm going to start off first with my more handcrafted albums. These were my first ones. This book, I believe, is by Heidi Swapp. I had like a really big Heidi Swapp period there for a bit, and I loved everything she did. And this was the very first time I had done any kind of December project. And it is pretty simple. All these die cut pages, these came in the album. So basically all I did was add photos and a few words. There's not even a ton of journaling in here. I was basically just trying out the concept to see if I liked it. There's even some blank spots where I didn't go back and put words, unfortunately. Now this was long before children, so I didn't have as many pictures to work with back then. And you'll see lots of my December dailies are before having Isabella. So there is a lot of pictures of just daily life, things that were going on, our pets, all those kinds of things. So you don't have to have kids in your life to be able to do a December daily because there's still things happening, even if you're documenting your work and your Christmas party and, even more mundane things. I always shared a lot of my work and things in these albums because that's what I was busy doing. So you can see this album is pretty plain, not too much going on, but the pages themselves are interesting because they're different shapes and we have some acetate pieces in there, but that work was all done already in the album. I didn't add a ton to it. So that was my very first one in 2012. And now I don't know what happened in 2013, but there is no December Daily album. But in 2014, I did actually do an album. And this one and the next one, I kind of did in a similar way. And that is, I taught a class on them. So this was back when I was teaching tons of classes in person. And one of the best ways for me to get my own stuff done is to teach a class on it, right? Because it gives me a due date. And I believe this was a Simple Stories collection. And I have these little flip outs. I'm really impressed with this washi tape that it is still holding strong. This was a little We Are Memory Keepers album and it had the page protectors in it already. And then I added some elements kind of coming out of the page protectors or washi taped on top. I kind of thought this tape might be falling off by now, but it is not. So that is pretty cool. And again, just pictures of daily life, snacks I was making, Christmas ornaments, classes I was teaching. And we got a tag here. I do like having a few little interactive elements, things that you can pull out and look at. But this album was created ahead of time. So I'm pretty sure I taught the class in November. And then I went back after Christmas and put the photos in. There's pictures from our Christmas party. I have flip flap here. It's kind of sagged a little bit, probably needs to be restuck down. TV shows I was watching. And just some fun, simple elements. Nothing is too crazy. Documenting the gas prices. They must have really plummeted this year because that is really low for per liter. And I journaled about how low the gas prices were, and that was the lowest I could ever remember them being. But you can see I got these fun little elements to flip through and some fairly simple embellishing because I did sit down and make this all in one class with my students. So it couldn't be too overly complicated. Lots of embellishing with stickers and we got some wood veneer pieces in here. All these numbers are stamped and embossed. I do like having a consistent number that goes through my album, but that's probably a little bit more on the crafty side of things, but done in a way where it's really built ahead of time and then just filled after Christmas with all the photos and stories. This one is similar, except I used a Close to My Heart collection. I have a wood veneer on the front here, some very rusty jingle bells. Apparently jingle bells do not hold up well over time. And then you can see in the spine here, I actually made this album myself. So I have some canvas material, and then I have a doubled up cardstock binding that I used my cinch to punch holes in and to put the rings in. And then I put that onto the chipboard and then covered it with paper. So I actually constructed this book myself, and this was a class as well. So for me at that time, the way that I could get this project done was to create the actual album ahead of time, and then just add my photos and stories right after Christmas and get it finished up, you know, right at the beginning of January. Now, this is a close to my heart collection. I do not remember the name of it. I'm sure somebody will. You can put it in the comments. But there was also a set of pocket cards that went along with it that all had the numbers on it. So that really dictated the design of my album. I have little pull-out sleeves here for extra pictures. Journaling on the back. I did everything by hand, like hand journaling, because that was the fastest and easiest, since the album was already constructed and I was just sticking in pictures and writing down my journaling. Very simple. If I didn't keep it simple, it wouldn't have happened. I would never have gotten it done. So you can see this one is even a little bit less interactive than the last one. We have a few more just like straight pieces. Still some little flip ups, and then there's a little slide out here. But lots of little just like 3x4 cards punched, turned one into a pocket. Lots of pictures of work, outside decorations, but no page protectors on this one. This one is just in the album. And that is something I go back and forth on. Sometimes I like being able to touch everything, but sometimes I feel like they don't wear as well over time, that they kind of get worn out feeling from being handled. So that just kind of repeats through the whole book. I did make the mistake of not making my covers longer. So by the time I put my pieces on the inside, they are hanging out the end. The lessons you learn when you're constructing albums yourself. Now moving into 2016, I started using the Everyday Life albums from Close to My Heart. And you can tell like these are not all matching. And if you really enjoy things that really match, this will probably drive you nuts. But it didn't really bother me. This, I believe, was a Close to My Heart collection that had just like 6x8 pages. And then I think there was some embellishments and things that went along with it as well. But you can see here, I've made this into a little pocket. So I have journaling behind here. I actually printed this right on the photo, which was kind of a newer thing for me then. And I am mixing in pocket pages here. So we have kind of a combination between pocket pages and then just these solid pages where I built my layout on top of it, but super simple. You can see there's nothing complicated about this. I had some overlays that had printing on them. It's hard for you to see with the glare. So these were like acetate overlays that had the white printing on them, and they're just put in with the picture. Now that is the one thing, it's not as nice to look at on camera when you have page protectors, but I do like that everything is protected. And I feel like when I go back to things, when I go back to my albums that have the page protectors, they just seem to stand up better over time. They don't feel so worn out. And you can see I have the same continuation of the same numbers, some of those acetate overlays, but very simple, nothing too complicated. Lots of pocket pages mixed in with a few of these other pages. And you can see I have, you know, a few friend pictures, few family pictures, some of my creative work, some of my husband and I. And this would be the same thing of journaling and taking pictures during the month and then building it at the end of the month. Moving on to 2018. This one was actually a workshop from Close to My Heart. So that means that they had cutting directions that showed you exactly how to cut all your paper, and then all you have to do is add your photos and journaling. I did do a little bit of a different number. This is quite a large number actually for the size of the pages, but I like that consistency of having a same element going through. Our little wiener dog. This was his first Christmas with us. So this could have just been his album, really. We got flip-flaps, a great way to add more photos. You can see I do have more photos, more than just one a day a lot of times in here. But still, the embellishing is very simple. The layouts of the pages are very simple. But that doesn't bother me looking back. I enjoy looking at these pages. It really brings attention to the photos. And I always feel like being super crafty makes it fun at the time. But when you are looking back, what I really like is having, good size photos and some journaling to go along with it. Those are the things that I'm looking at when I go back to it. You can see what I mean. It was his first Christmas. He was still a little puppy. I mean, he hasn't got much bigger. He's only 7 pounds. So there you can get a good picture of how this looks. And, I have the odd little die cut or whatever, but it was mostly just the kit. And I stuck to that, cut the paper just as directed, and just got it put together. Same thing, building. I think I built this one at the end of the month as well. For a few years, actually, I've hosted kind of like an online crop day in January so that we could all just like get together and work on our albums at the same time. I like having some sort of due date where it makes me finish this project. I really don't like this project going on all year or kind of sitting there waiting for me. This one I actually did go ahead and do some heat transfer vinyl on here with the year. I like it. It looks really nice, and I probably should just do the rest of my albums. This was also a close to my heart workshop. So all the papers were cut following the directions. I also have that consistency in my numbers with the craft shapes and the black ink. This one is a little bit brighter of a color scheme. Basically, I was just working with what was available. And I knew that if I didn't keep it simple, this was not going to end up happening. It would just get set aside and I would be busy starting off January, teaching classes and moving on with all the things that I needed to do. So I had to keep it simple to make it work. Definitely have lots of stories, lots of journaling to read, which is nice looking back. So that gives you a flavor of that year. That was 2019. Now, of course, the most exciting one of all, baby's first Christmas. This was 2020. So probably not a great Christmas for most people, but it was Isabella's first Christmas. So for us, it was great. I did do a few outside the page protector things. This one was the first one where I was not using a workshop and not using a pre-made album. So at the end of December, beginning of January, I did actually build everything at one time, but it was not from any kind of design. So I did use my Cricut. This December page was cut out on the Cricut. These numbers are Cricuted. This is the first time I'm actually starting to use larger photos. I was not printing at home yet at this point. And this was a fun collection because it had like pinks and greens in it. And I thought for her first Christmas, that would be great because she's probably going to end up wearing pinks. And so I figured that would work out really well. I have a little flip up here and you can see I have these little gnomes. So this was a stamp set by Close to My Heart. And I did end up incorporating that throughout the album to kind of tie it all together. I also have my numbers, which are black scallop circles with Cricut silver glitter numbers on top. Here I have a little pullout with journaling here. And then the pocket cards are also Close to My Heart. I have stickers that match the collection. I do enjoy working with a collection. If you find you spend so much time trying to like match things together or, make sure everything coordinates, I do recommend working with one collection. It just makes stuff so much easier. Here I have a bow die cut that I put together. I really love this page design. You can see I've worked in some like 6x8 pages, but then I have other ones where I just kept it simple and had just like our professional photos that we had taken that year. And there's really nothing going on here. I didn't even add journaling because I figured it was self-explanatory. And then I did have a stamp set that had some things about quarantine and stuff like that. So I added a few of those in here and there. This is another one of my favorite pages. We got more of the gnomes in here. And I'm getting a little bit more into having like an actual spread. This was the first time for that. Here I have like a little flip up. There's journaling under there. And this is another one of those die cut pages. And look, you can see I also embossed that with a snowflake embossing folder. And then on this side, I was trying to use my Mink. I'd had it for a few years at this point and hadn't really used it. And I also had a laser printer. So I was trying to get some use out of that. You can see the foiling is not perfect, but I have our gift list done in foil. And I know I have more foil in here too. So a little bit more embellished, a little bit more stamping, a little bit more die cutting, another one of those bows. And then some Cricut cuts. So this page was done on the Cricut as well. I have this star acetate kind of sandwiched between these two pages. More foiling there, silver glitter, die cut in that scallop. And then on this side as well. And this actually is a whole poem about Christmas 2020 I found online somewhere. And I thought it was good. So, and very representative of the strange season that was 2020. And oh, I love this photo too. So much fun. So you can see the difference between 2020, how my albums changed from, you know, just us as a couple, us with a dog, and then us with a baby. Your photos and your pages do change, but I still have a fairly simple style in this one. It's just slightly more embellished. Okay, I'm getting even a little bit craftier with the next one. This is 2021, and I actually did a little shaker page. I love this with her photo behind it, and I have all kinds of like little stars and sequins and things, and then I cut this on the Cricut, and then I just sealed it with my fuse tool. So it's just a regular page protector that I sealed up, and then you can see I am bringing more of the large photos, 6x8 photos. Once I started using larger photos, I'm like, oh, I really enjoy this. So I got another one here on the back side. I think both of these were taken by my friend Michelle. Yeah, she always gets some beautiful photos that I love working with. You know what? There's nothing better than having friends who are scrapbookers and photographers and just know that pictures mean the most to you. It's really nice. So we're back to a lot of pocket pages. I do have a few elements in here that are not inside pocket pages. Love this design. I just made that on my Cricut. I think it was based off something I'd seen Allie do, and I didn't have the paper or anything, so I just made it myself. And you can see I'm bringing in more Cricut cuts, more like sprigs and leaves. I'm also switching up the types of pictures. I'm showing my desk here, and I was starting to be more influenced by Allie and watching more of her stuff. If you guys aren't familiar with December Daily, it is Allie Edwards' project, and she came up with it, and she's been doing it for many, many years now. When I started out doing December albums, I wasn't really following her, but over the years, I've started following her more and more, really enjoying her style and picking up some really good tips and types of stories, ways to take pictures, and things like that. And you can see I'm definitely into the big photos now that I have a little cutie patootie to take pictures of. And you see more of those 6x8 spreads. This one actually was inspiration for one of the creative design team sketchbooks. Here I have just a plain photo with a card, a 4x6 pocket card on the back. This too, I didn't mention, is a collection from Close to My Heart. So again, I'm working within one single collection. And here, this was just a die cut, and then I made this little flip out and just glued it on top of it. So some outside the page protector things going on, but not a ton. This one's a little flip out this way to put my journaling in. This was also the year that our furnace decided to quit, so that was fun. There is a look. Same thing, I finished that in January. That is usually my goal, is to be done by January. Now, for the last two albums, 2022 and 2023, things shifted a little bit because that's when the creative design team came out with 6x8 sketchbooks. So if you've never seen these before, they have ideas, measurements, everything in grayscale so that you have inspiration, but you don't have to follow it exactly. And this is the one that came out first. So this book was made just with this one. And then last year's, I used both of these books. I've also found that keeping track of what I'm doing is really helpful, considering I don't usually work on my projects during the month. I work on them after. So I made this little printable. It's actually still available for free on the Creative Design Team website. I will link that down below. But this way, as I was going through the month, I wrote down the day, the story, the photo sizes, what sketch I was going to use, and what page size it is. Because if you're mixing in pocket pages or you're using all pocket pages, you kind of need to keep track of what sizes they are so that you know, okay, I used a 6x8 here. Well, the back side is going to need to be 6x8. And it just helps me keep track and plan things really well. And this is a fresh version. My one from last year got pretty scribbled all over, but it's really helpful to keep track of things. So if you want to grab that, it is for free on the website. This was 2022, and I used a Paige Evans cut file to do this. After I had done this, actually, Andrea created one for the Creative Design Team that is somewhat similar to this. And I think that's also in the freebies on the Creative Design Team website. So if you wanted to go grab that, I just love that as a starting page. This is again using a Close to My Heart collection, but there was no pocket cards this time. And I really just focused on using the sketches. Oh, and I also did a calendar on my Cricut. This is another file that is for free over on the Creative Design Team website. And this I did after the fact, filled it in with a few of the days and then embellished with some of my leftover stickers. And you're going to see a lot of like mini scrapbook pages now because that is kind of the style using the sketchbooks. They definitely are more embellished. I have lots of poinsettias. I have more of a design of an actual layout that's just kind of like chopped up into pieces. Still some things in the middle. This I made with a flip flap, and where the sticky was, I just put paper over it so I could hole punch it. Here we have a tag that pulls out with the journaling. Really fun design, lots of chance to embellish. So this album was the first time that I had gotten way more into embellishing. I have like gold pen details on a lot of my things, border punching done, lots of die cutting, and this was the first time doing this. There was no way I could finish this in January. It actually ended up sitting in my studio until August of 2023, and that was the time where I realized I hate this. I do not want to be working on this project or have it sitting there staring at me all year. So I need to do something different in order to not have that happen. I'm not the person that wants to work on this in July. I'm not the person that wants to work on it in November. And lots of people do, and that's totally fine. If that's the best time for you, you do you. That is great. Here I printed right on my photo before I printed it out and then embellished on top of it afterwards. Love this photo so much. But you can see there's way more embellishing going on, especially since I used florals. And then we have, see if I can show you this. We have flip outs here. There's one going up, one going down with the flip flaps, and then another one coming out to the side. That was a little Christmas parade. I really love this page design too, with all the squares. Oh, and this one has a hidden tag too. And if you can notice, I think this is maybe the first time, well, one of the first times I'm bringing in journaling on the computer. So I did print more of my journaling. I still have lots of handwriting, but definitely more printed journaling. And then I also brought in some stitching. So this was another Paige Evans file, and I did stitching all around. I did chain stitch and then back stitching. And I think I maybe did this before December even started. But same thing, I did not work on this album during December. I started at the end of the month. I was a little surprised by how long it took me to do. And so then I ended up setting it aside sometime in January, and then it sat in the corner of my room until August when I was like, this is ridiculous. I have to get this finished because I'm ready to start thinking about the next year. But I do have to say, flipping through this, absolutely love it. Absolutely. It is probably one of my favorite albums that I have ever made. I really love it. I love how the pages coordinate. Even if the designs are different, I did try and make them tie in together. And yeah, I am super happy with how this one turned out. Okay, then this one is last year, 2023. This is my first time using an Ali Edwards album. I still need to label the spine. I'm so bad at labeling the spines on my albums. I used her green floral one from last year. You're gonna see there is more stitching. I just did a complete flip through of this album. It is on my channel. I will link it. And actually, I will link the rest of whatever December daily videos I have. I think I do have a flip through for the 2022 album as well if you want to see all of it. And I will link that for you. So I got stitching on here, more large photos. I was using the sketchbook as well. Same thing, I chose one collection. This one was a little bit different for me. It was all like shades of green, and then I added some pops of red to it. I have a digital element that I added. So this is the first time using Ali's page protectors as well, because before I just had the close to my heart ones with the 3 holes. This is 6 hole, and I'm using the sketches for this one as well. Lots of die cuts, but this time what I decided that there was absolutely no way I was going to let this project carry on. So I think I finished this in March, and basically it took several days of working on this. Pretty hardcore. Like, I think I took a whole weekend to finish it, and I already had a big start on it, but it did take me quite a while to finish. But I was determined that I was not going to be finishing it, you know, midway through the year, and I definitely wasn't going to make it to next Christmas without it being done. This is an Ali Edwards digital here. I had started buying digitals and playing with digital elements. These are digital images that I did print and cut on my Cricut. But you can see, again, more embellished pages. We got embossing, we got die cutting, we got Cricut stuff, all kinds of things. I really love how this turned out, and I think it's probably my favorite album. This one and the year before, the 2022, I absolutely love how they look. So keeping in mind that I am a person that really wants to have a finished album, I really want to wrap it up at the beginning of the new year. What am I going to do this year to get that to happen? Isn't that the question, right? Like, how am I going to still do a really embellished album and have it not take me half the year to get it done, or have to take off like multiple days with not doing any other kind of work and just creating the album? Well, I think it's time that I show you what I'm using this year and share my plans with you. First off, let's look at the product. I decided this year to challenge myself and try one of Ali's 10x8 albums. I'm hoping this was a good decision. I got the cream and gold one because it perfectly matches the collection that I'm planning on using, which I will get to in a second. But it's really pretty, and I thought it would look great next to this album. So yeah, those are gonna look so nice on the shelf together. So that was kind of the reason I went for this album instead of the floral one. Plus the floral one had like a bright red inside, and I wasn't too crazy about that. So my plan is to do greens with pops of red, kind of like I did last year, just different shades of green. And I was amazed by how much I enjoyed that color palette last year. So I decided I'm gonna go that direction again, and I actually picked up a few things from Ali. So my order this year from Ali Edwards was a little bit larger than normal. She had some sales that went on through the boxing period in August, so I did pick up a few things as the month went on. I picked up the advent calendar from last year because it was 50% off. I didn't get the one for this year. I also got some page protectors and things so that I have lots of options for pages. And then I picked up these gold numbers. Now these are itty bitty. I was not expecting them to be so tiny. I guess I did not look at the measurements closely enough, but they are quite small. So I'm thinking a big album with tiny numbers, maybe not what I want to do, but I will figure that out as I go. I might just use the Cricut again or some of my dies. And then I got her little word or phrase stickers. I always like these kinds of things to add just like little snippets here and there sometimes that's all you need is just like a little something to add to the page. So I did get that. Then I picked up this. This was on sale from the past year. These are the 3x8. And I thought they would be great to add to the pages. So I might not use them just as a 3x8 page, but I might add them into my other pages. And this is from last year, but I think the color palette actually matches better than this year's color palette does. So I have acetate pieces. We have some printed ones, and I thought the printed ones really worked well with my album this year and my colors. We got lots of gold foiling, which I do buy Ali's digitals, but the gold foiling just doesn't translate unless you're going to foil it like with a foil quill or something like that, or a mink. You can see how they match the album that I got last year. And then I did get the one for this year, the 10x8 acetate pieces. Unfortunately, mine came bent up in the box, so they are curled. And the customer service was really great. They did give me a refund and gave me the digital file for these. But I want to still try and use them somehow in my album. I was hoping to use them like divider pages between things, but we'll see what happens with that. They did have really good customer service, which was nice, but you see you got the printed gold on there, and you just don't get that with digital versions. The gold does not translate the same. I thought this might be nice to start the album off with, 2024. So I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of these, but I did pick those up from like the new product this year. I'm very excited and a little bit nervous about the size, but I thought it would work well with this collection from Stampin' Up. So this is the Season of Green and Gold, and it is a gorgeous collection. Came out in July, and these pieces here cut out with the coordinating dies. So I'm planning to use this for a lot of like my clusters and stuff. This is gold foil. You've probably seen this already. Lots of these cut out as well. The bells cut out with the dies. And just like really nice patterns. Look at that cream and gold. Like it matches the album pretty much perfectly. And then there are some more subtle patterns as well. And then I always use cardstock too. There's also Vellum pack that goes with that, Graceful Greenery. And these also cut out with the dies. So I have so many options for creating like greenery clusters. Here we have this really pretty vellum that has almost like a snowy finish to it. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. I am doing the prep day that's coming up just in a couple days, November 3rd. And I am going to do a lot of this die cutting then, so that I'm ready to go and have all my little containers of die cuts and things. I do have a rolling cart this year, and I think I am going to fit it out for December Daily. I am just beginning to get my cart set up, and so I thought I'd give you a quick little sneak peek. I don't have everything in it yet, but I've pulled some dies. These are Stampin' Up dies, tags, general shapes that I know will come in handy. I have some pockets. I would probably like to use these in my project at some point. And then we have some more like greenery and circles, and this poinsettia die. I'm thinking I'll probably use that. I have some stencils. These are tree stencils. And then some more stamps here. I've pulled some older ones from my collection as well. And I have a whole lot more than that, but I want to start small, and I don't want to overwhelm myself with all of my choices because I think that'll make things much too difficult. Then I picked up these new containers this year. These are from Dollarama here in Canada, and they stack really nicely into each other. So I'm thinking I'm going to use them for my die cuts. These are a bunch of leftovers from the 31 Days of Christmas cards. I'm going to separate them out so I have like words in one, greenery in another, poinsettia pieces in another one, journaling spots in another one, and just kind of keep it organized that way. I could also, if I need to, get more because they stack so nicely on top of each other. And then down here I have just a little bit of products so far. I have my Ali Edwards products tucked in here, And then on this side, I also have my album and page protectors. You might notice I don't have a ton of embellishments, and that's usually because I end up making a lot of mine with stamps and dies, and I don't have a huge embellishment collection. I'm actually working right now on redoing some of my embellishments, and I will have a video for you guys hopefully somewhat soon showing you that, but I don't have a whole collection of Christmas embellishments to use. Let's go back to my desk and I'll show you that pretty vellum I'm hoping to incorporate. It's called Gold Mercury Vellum, and it has this just distressed patterns on it. This one is 3D pretty much. You can feel the texture on it. So super pretty. And then I also have, a huge selection of stamps and dies. These are the ones that go with the collection. So if I want to cut out some more solid pieces that aren't printed, I can do that. And as far as when it comes to strategy, so I am doing Allie's prep day for the first time. It's such a good way to make a date for myself, and I'm actually going to be joined by a couple of friends, so we are all going to get together and start prepping for our December dailies this year, doing our die cutting, stamping, printing out some digitals, those kinds of things while we watch the content that Allie's putting out on that day. And then I am planning to schedule some time in my planner in December to do some pages. I'm not requiring of myself that I get it all done, but I want to get a start on it during the month, because if I leave it to the end like I have in the past, it's just not going to happen. So you will probably see less videos from me for the month of December because I'm going to be working on my December daily, and that's just what it has to be. I either have to do videos or I have to work on a project for myself or spend time with my family. There's no way for me to do it all, and I just had to be real with myself and be okay with that. I'm still going to schedule a little an online crop day in the beginning of January with the goal of hopefully finishing my album then. And I think if I schedule the time, I'm just much more likely to actually do it. The other thing I was thinking of, if I'm struggling with how to lay out my pages, because this is a new size for me, Creative Design Team has an 8.5 by 11 sketchbook. I believe the outside the page protector is 8.25 by 11, I think is that size, but a 10 by 8 is very similar. So my thinking was I could always take some of the designs and just rotate them so that they're landscape, or rotate them like that so they're landscape, and use them in the album if I find that I'm struggling and I need some inspiration. I also really love large photos, so I'm planning to use some larger photos. I have a really nice photo printer. I love my Epson. It's the 8500, and that is just a game changer for doing these types of projects because I can print stuff as I go. So it's going to be a little bit of a mindset shift for me this year to think about actually crafting this project during the month. That is going to be something new for me. I'm hoping that it's going to work out okay. But, we don't know until we try. So I'm going to try it and see what happens. I would love to hear what your plans are for December daily. And I hope by showing you some of my albums where I didn't have kids to scrapbook and it was just kind of like my normal life, that gave you some ideas for your own if you're worried about your month not being busy enough to document. All right, you can check out more of my December daily videos here, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.